This is America's Court with Judge Ross. Gertrude Thomas says the dog costumes she purchased from the defendant psychologically damaged her dogs, and she wants him to pay for their hypnotherapy. She's suing for $5,000. Arthur Vincent says the plaintiff's claim is ridiculous and insists she's to blame for her pet's emotional distress.
All rise. Remain standing and come to order. Your Honorable Judge Kevin Ross presiding.
All right, folks, you may be seated.
All parties been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Deputy Thomas. Gertrude Thomas, ma'am, I understand you are suing Arthur Vincent for $5,000 based on some doggy costumes, pain and suffering, and hypnosis sessions. Is that correct?
Yes, it is, Your Honor.
All right, what is going on here?
Well, Your Honor, every year I have a luau in my condominium, and I invite everybody in the building, and we dress in Hawaiian clothes, and we do a luau.
And how long have you been doing that?
About 10 years, Your Honor.
Okay, and so you've been having this luau. Yes.
And this year I thought we'd do something new. I thought that I would dress my little babies in costumes.
Babies.
Your Honor.
Mr. Vincent, she's not finished yet. Don't interrupt her, sir.
I have two little babies, two dogs, Your Honor. I have a Scottish Terrier, and he's 4 years old, and I have a little Lasso Apso, and she's 3 years old, Brad and Angelina.
Oh, very nice.
And I thought that they would just look so adorable if we dressed them up. So I went down to the local doggy boutique owned by the defendant.
Okay.
And actually, I don't like to shop there because the clothes there are so expensive.
Well, then why'd you buy clothes or other items from him?
Well, because he's the only doggy boutique in the whole city that carried any Hawaiian clothes.
Okay.
So I went in there and I got the cutest little shirt, a little Hawaiian shirt for Brad, and a little grass skirt and lei for Angelina.
Of course.
And I asked Mr. Vincent specifically, are these costumes safe for my babies? And he goes, yes.
I said yes.
All right, okay. Come. So this is the type of line of products you carry in your store, sir?
Yes, I have a whole store designated for dogs, costumes, leashes, collars, everything. I sell it all.
And you're the owner of the business, sir?
Yes, sir.
How long have you been in business?
About 5 years.
And is it just for pets? Is it just, I mean, is it exclusively for...
Yeah, it's basically just for dogs. I have some cat stuff, but not that much, because who wants a cat, really?
All right, okay. All right. You're funny.
Thanks.
All right, so had you known Miss Thomas before?
Miss Thomas has come into my shop several times, and she never buys anything, but she likes to comment on how expensive everything is.
Well, because it is.
Well, you bought two things.
Well, all right, so you went there, you gave her what she needed, and then you get home. How was the party?
Well, first I put the costumes on my babies, and all of a sudden they got really, really quiet, and they got kind of standoffish. Brad went into...
the dogs just totally changed personalities. They're normal, the life of the party.
Okay, Mr. Wilson, I did not bring you into the conversation yet. Easy. Now, how is it that Mr. Wilson knows so much about the dogs, ma'am?
Well, because actually we live together, Your Honor. He's my boyfriend. We've been together for 10 years now.
Okay, so he's been there the whole time?
Yes.
All right, now I get it. And so what did you have to add, sir?
The dogs are normally the life of the party, and everybody that comes over loves to play with Brad and Angelina. They're adorable, loving dogs. And
do you have any pictures or anything?
I do, Your Honor. I brought pictures of them.
But you were saying, Mr. Wilson, I'm sorry I interrupted you, sir. What were we saying?
they're normally fun-loving, adorable, loving little creatures.
Okay.
And our friends love them and interact with them. But
yes, please, let me take a look at that. And so, all right, so they're always the life of the party.
With
and you've been doing this. Oh, okay.
Aren't they adorable, Your Honor?
Okay. And so when you put them in these...
Well, that's exactly what everybody at the party did, too. They laughed.
When you put them in the costumes, I would take it that they were the life of the party.
they were not. The party was a disaster.
When America's Court returns.
Our guests were sort of making fun at their expense.
Well, of course the dogs are going to be upset if drunk old people are like, ooh,
Mr.
look
Vincent.
at the dog.
Are you calling me old?
And later.
And apparently she was using my picture, my title, my likeness and everything on her website to promote her pageant.
This is America's Court with Judge Ross. We're back with the case of Gertrude Thomas, who is suing pet boutique owner Arthur Vincent for psychologically damaging her dogs.
And the two of you have been living together, so the whole 10 years you all have been having these parties together. You've been part of the party.
The morning of the party, and some guests started coming over to help us decorate. And when she put the costumes on Brad and Angelina and brought them into the front room, they just flopped. They were dead.
The costumes were
with the costumes on.
Oh, you mean their reaction to the costumes?
Yeah, they didn't like it. They just laid there like lumps in the middle of the room. They didn't even interact with the
personalities changed that quick once you put the costumes on.
Well, we put them on earlier the other day, and they changed. So she took the costumes off, thinking, okay, you know, they weren't comfortable that moment. But the morning of the party, she put the costumes on them and brought them into the living room. And they just laid there, and they didn't even interact with any of the people that they knew as friends. All right,
so I see the picture here of Brad. Let's take a look at that on the plasma. And then we also have Angelina. So these were the costumes that you put on the dogs.
Yes.
Yes.
And after putting these costumes on the dogs, you're saying that they didn't like them.
They got very depressed, and their whole personalities changed, Your Honor.
Part of what I think affected it, too, I mean, they are so adorable, and we thought they looked so cute. But as the party went on, and there was drinking, naturally, at a luau.
But what does that have to do with Mr. Vincent?
Well, a lot of our guests were sort of making fun of the dogs and having fun at their expense.
Well, of course the dogs are going to be upset if drunk old people are like, ooh,
Mr. Vincent,
are you calling me old?
Hold on. No. We don't do that up in here.
Sorry.
What does that have to do with Mr. Vincent?
Well, let me tell you, Your Honor. I found out later that he's had problems with his costumes. You know, I went on the internet to find out if costumes would affect dogs, if you put the costumes on the dogs, and there's tons of information regarding costumes humiliating the animals.
Lots of complaints about his store also.
Lots of tons of complaints against his store.
Is that true, Mr. Vincent?
There is a social networking site that has people who are saying how much they do not like my costumes on their pets. However, I do offer a full refund policy.
Well, Your Honor.
But you decided to bring him to court not for the costume money back, but because the dogs are depressed?
Well, no, it's not only the dogs are depressed. What happened, Your Honor, a friend of mine, after 2 days, it was just horrific. My life was hell with this. It was just, I just couldn't deal with this anymore. And somebody suggested that I have the dog seen by a psychic, a dog psychic.
Yep.
And Sam was so nice. He researched it, and he found a very nice person who charges $50 an hour per dog.
To do what with them?
She would come in, and she would put the dogs kind of in their cages.
Yeah,
they
couldn't be out at the beginning.
Because that's not according to the psychic dog rule.
Well,
Mr. Vincent.
Sorry, I'm just, I feel like I'm in Crazyville right now.
Well, that's okay. That's all right, sir.
The dogs would face each other, and she would talk to Brad and say, Brad, this is Angelina, you have to get along. You know, things are not working out between the two of you at this time, but this will pass. And then she would go to Brad and do the same thing as she did for Angelina. And over time, she was able to take the dogs out of the cages, and then she would have them sit one on each side of her.
And all of this because of these costumes?
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. Yes,
their personalities changed totally after these costumes.
And you think that Mr. Vincent should have to pay for the dog psychic?
Absolutely, because you know what? They've already gone to 3 sessions, and it's working out. They're starting already to communicate. They're starting already to look at each other, and they're starting to get along now. It's wonderful. And she said
now,
that,
where does the pain and suffering come in, though?
Oh, we've been going through emotional hell trying to make these doggies back to normal.
Your Honor, what's happened is that I can't sleep. I've lost my appetite. I look at these animals, and I'm just so sad. I cry myself in bed. I can't sleep.
She doesn't pay attention to me anymore. It's like I'm not there.
Well,
I've lost a relationship.
Everything that you're saying makes sense to me.
And, Your Honor, there's a sign.
Everything you're saying makes sense to me, crazy as that may sound to some people. What doesn't make sense to me is the role that Mr. Vincent plays in all of this. Given what you just heard, Mr. Vincent, you're saying you would be okay with the returning of the costumes.
Oh, yes. They can happily bring them in. As long as I have the costumes and the receipt, which they have, I'm willing to give them a full refund. I've never had a customer say that their dogs are depressed and needed to go to psychic doggy camp to get back to themselves. This is ridiculous.
But we've been damaged as a result of these costumes, Your Honor. Our dogs are not the same as they used to be.
No, I got it. I got it. All right, folks, based on the evidence and the testimony before this court, the gavel is going to come down in favor of the plaintiffs for $40. The cost of the costumes that he's willing to refund. But all of this hypnosis for the dogs and the pain and suffering, that cannot be attributable to Mr. Vincent. I hope the two of you are able to get back to where you are. You're a very sweet and charming couple. But those issues have nothing to do with this man. So judgment in favor of the plaintiff in the amount of $40. That is the order.
All rise.
Judge Ross has ruled in favor of the plaintiff. The defendant is ordered to pay $40.
I stated that I would give her a full refund. I didn't know that we were going to go through all the craziness of this. I mean, their dogs' name were Brad and Angelina.
I don't think that Judge Ross really understood what the problem was. I mean, $40.
Closed captioning provided by